Hi, everybody. It's Miss Timberg here. I just wanted to give you a little story about assignment number 3, the podcast analysis, because podcasts, not something that we've really talked about much in class, so it's something kind of new to experiment with. So just starting off with the first question here, what actually is a podcast if you haven't heard? A podcast is audio, so it's something that you listen to. Podcasts usually have an episodic format, so they have different episodes. And you can find a podcast on pretty much any topic or genre or anything that you want. So anything from news to comedy, you can learn about things, you can learn how to do things. You can learn languages, you can listen to stories, sports, there's everything. There's a podcast out there for anything. The good thing about them is that they are all free, and they're anywhere from some of them are just 5 minutes really quick to 2 hours. So some of them last a really long time. So how can you find and listen to podcasts? Okay. First of all, you have to start by choosing a platform. So you have to decide, how do I want to listen? You can listen on the computer, like Google Chrome. Just open up Safari or Google Chrome or whatever. Or you can listen on your iPhone or Android. So you can listen on your phone or the computer. I usually like to listen on my phone so I can have headphones. And I listen a lot in the car, actually, when I'm driving. I like to listen when I go on walks, like when I take Daphne for a walk. And then when I'm doing other stuff like folding laundry or dishes, I don't normally just sit on the couch and listen to a podcast. I usually do something else while I'm listening. Just helps me be more productive, I guess. So you can choose if you want to download a podcast or if you just want to stream it on your computer or on your phone. Either way works. Usually if I know I'm going to be listening in the car or whatever, I'll download it. Or if I'm going on a walk, I'll download a podcast. And then when I'm done, I will delete it from my phone. So you don't have to worry about storage and stuff like that. So first of all, choose, are you going to listen on the computer or on your phone? If you have an iPhone, it already has the podcast app. And it looks like this. It's the purple one. So that one is really good. It has pretty much all the features that you would want on it. Pocket Cast is also another good one. And then you can just go to the App Store if you want something else that has some different features. Android, you have Google Podcast, and that's the standard one that comes with Android phones. Podcast Addict is also a good one for Android. And then you can search the Google Play Store for more if you're interested. If you are really looking for, an app that has the best features, things like that, you can click this link and it will take you to this website. So it gives you basically anything that you wanted to know about all these different apps. So Radio Public, this one's free for both. And you don't have to have an account or anything. You just log in and start listening. So that's really good. This one, Pocket Cast, it is a little bit more fancy, I guess. So it has a better search and filtering. It has light and dark. So if you want it to, if you want to get a little bit more fancy, this one works with Apple Watch if you want to have that. So just check that out if you want to look for something a little bit more in depth. Okay, so the whole idea of this is I want to give you an assignment in hopes that you will start listening to a podcast. And I don't really care what podcast it is. I want you to find something that you're interested in. So for me, I would probably not listen to a podcast on sports or hunting or anything like that because it's just not for me. But it might be for you. So the biggest thing is like find something that you like or are interested in and go with that. And if you like listen for a couple of minutes and you're like not really feeling it or whatever, that's okay. You don't have to like sit there and listen to the whole thing. Just abandon it and find something that you do like, because there are like millions of podcasts out there, and there's going to be one that you'll like and will be entertaining for you. So find something that you like. I'm just going to give you a couple of suggestions and recommendations for stuff that I think are good, like all around. And you don't have to listen to any of these, but if they sound good, great, you can try them out. If you're totally not into it, then that's fine too. So these are some that I think are just like all around good podcasts. This American Life, basically, this is on every single week, and they do have new episodes like every Sunday. And basically, it's just like they have a theme every week, and they have real people's stories. I think they usually do like 3 or 4 different stories of people that like it has to do with the theme. So the theme might be like Easter or something, and then they have 4 different, like maybe one of them's like really funny, and then one of them's kind of sad or like heartwarming or whatever. So they have 4 different people's stories about like Easter or whatever the theme is. And you can look through the episodes. You don't have to like listen to the most recent episode of the podcast. Like you can look through and see which one sounds interesting to you. Radiolab is like another one that is kind of like that, where they have like real people stories, and it usually centers around some sort of theme or some sort of big idea. Serial, the podcast Serial, not like the cereal you eat, but Serial like a series. This one I love. This is probably the first podcast I started listening to, like, I don't know, 5-ish years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And the first season is about like a high school student who was accused of murdering his girlfriend. And so they just like go into that whole case and like, was he really guilty or not? So that's the first season. And then they have other seasons after that, but I recommend starting with the first season because I think it's the best one. Lore, the podcast Lore. This one's about like, well, it comes from like the word folklore. So like if you're into like urban legends and things like that, this one's all about that. So if you kind of like stuff that's more on the creepy side of life, Lore is a great one. Stuff you should know. Stuff you should know. I love the hosts of this one. And it's basically just like they have a topic and then they tell you pretty much everything that you would want to know about that topic. And the topics are like, you can think of anything, and they probably have an episode about it. I think they have like over 500 episodes. So if you're thinking about it, they've probably done an episode on it. So that's just like a good all-around one. If there is something that you're interested in, then they probably have an episode about it, and you can just look for that one. Stuff you missed in history class. This one is really good. Especially if you're a social studies history buff, check that one out. And then ologies. I would say if you're more into science, ologies it's like the name comes from, if you're an ologist. So, if you study something in the science world, usually it has ology at the end, like biology. Okay. So they have all sorts of different ologists that come on, and they talk about different sciencey things like that. If you're like, I don't want to choose, just tell me something. These links will take you to lists of really good episodes that, people recommend. The last one is scary podcasts. So they have different, like if we If we click this one, then it will load and it will show you different podcasts that are good. So like, okay, this one is academic related. So maybe like Grammar Girl. I've listened to that one. Stuff you missed in history class. We talked about that. General interests. Lore's on there. Radiolab. Business. If you're in, like, if you want to do your own business, these are all good. Inspirational or motivational. So if you want to, like, if you want to be better, if you want to use this quarantine time to like be the best you can be, maybe look and listen to those. So those are just some things that you can check out later if you want. So I'm just going to show you really quick, kind of like walk through how to do the assignment and how to find different podcasts. So if we go to the actual assignment, this is assignment number 3, and up here you're going to type in the title of the podcast, the title of the episode, when it was originally released, and then the length. Okay, so I'm going to just go to Spotify because it's really easy to navigate and kind of show you, but this works for like anything. So if you go to search on Spotify, this works in the app too, and then you go to podcasts. Now, not all of the apps will have all of the podcasts, but usually they'll have a good variety of things. So you can see like the most popular ones, the top podcasts are here. Okay. Like stuff you should know. There it is. And then you can go like down to categories. Like, okay, I want something educational. Like literally anything you can think of. Lore is on here. Hidden Brain, I love. Ologies. Myths and legends, conspiracy theories. Like literally there's everything. I mean, if you just search like a topic and then put podcasts at the end of it and search that in Google, you can probably find something that you like. So I'm just going to use like stuff you should know because I think that it's a good one. So you can kind of see like there's all these different topics. And maybe I want to look. I'm looking for like what's maybe the most random one I can find. Let's see. So these are so funny. I'm getting distracted. Okay, so let's say we want to look at. I still can't decide. I want to look at how ice climbing works. Now, I don't know anything about ice climbing, so that's just kind of a random one. So I'm going to look at this episode. I'm going to say, okay, it's stuff you should know, how ice climbing works, and that's what I would put in here. So I'd say stuff you should know. That's the podcast title. Episode title is How Ice Climbing Works. Not words, works. The release date, March 12th, 2020. And then how long is the episode? This one looks like it's a little bit over an hour, so that's pretty typical for this podcast. They're usually about an hour. So 62:43. Okay, and then that's all you have to do for that one. Then you move to the actual questions. So the first one is that it says, what is the entire podcast about? What's the genre? Summarize in your own words. So here I would look at, you can either like click on the show, or in Spotify, it doesn't really do a good job of like telling you like what. So I might go to and just kind of Google to find information here. Okay, so like right on the side here, I can just go to like Wikipedia and see. This would be like an okay use of Wikipedia. Okay, so the podcast is released Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, educates listeners on a wide variety of topics, using popular culture as a reference, giving the podcast comedic value. Okay, so it sounds like it's just like it's an educational podcast on random topics, and there's some comedy in it. So I might say something like that. So this podcast is an educational podcast that talks about different topics every episode. It also includes some comedy. Oh, there we go. So it just, I mean, like, as simple as that. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. So then what is this specific episode about? Summarize in your own words. So I would listen first, listen to the podcast, and then you can summarize it in your own words. You're not going to like be able to do a summary if you haven't listened to it yet. So just in your own words, what was the ice climbing thing about? I'd write down 3 things that I learned. I learned what ice climbing was. I learned blah, blah, blah. 2 questions I have. So maybe there's something else I'm interested in. Maybe something they brought up wasn't really clear that I'm still wondering about. And then 1 reflection. So for the reflection, these are just some things to think about. You don't have to answer all of these questions. It's just something to think about. So I really want to hear, like, what was your experience listening to the actual podcast, and then did you like it? So think of it like that. Like, how was the actual listening, and then did you actually like the podcast? So did you enjoy listening to the podcast? What did you like or not like? Was it easy or hard to get into the episode and stay focused? Would you listen to this podcast or another podcast again? And what were your thoughts on the topic? So I'm going to just pretend that I have listened to this one. And for me, I would say I really enjoyed listening to this podcast. I really liked how the hosts, maybe how they gave a lot of information while still being funny and interesting. That is one thing I like about their podcast, is like I learn a lot, but it's also like not just dry and boring. It was easy to get into the topic because of their sense of humor. And also, I stayed focused because I was folding laundry at the same time. So if I have like something else that I'm like doing while I listen to the podcast, then usually I'm better able to stay focused. I would definitely listen to another podcast again, but maybe I'm like not super about ice climbing, just not about this same topic. I would be interested in listening to a podcast about dogs. I don't know. Something like that. So that's what I'm looking for with your reflection. We don't want it to be just like good, bad, boring, liked it. Actually, like, tell me, because I can't really see you and ask you about it, except for the video conferences. So yeah, just give me your actual thoughts. Okay. So that was kind of my my tips for the assignment. If you have any questions at all about this assignment, or you maybe want a recommendation, you're looking for a podcast about something and you want a recommendation about it, let me know. Okay. And I will definitely be more than willing to help you. And I hope you find something that you really like, because I know that the libraries are closed and it's hard to get books, and it's, it will probably get boring after a while just doing the same things and running out of things to watch on Netflix. So I just wanted to give you something else to get into, and hopefully you find something that you really like. And I look forward to reading all of your podcast analyses. All right, so let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you later.